ice, but also being a pretty decent healer, well, do I have the modded Frost Witch build for you. This is my level 1 to 12 Frost Witch mod build with a list of items and a combat tutorial, and of course we are starting level 1 with the Witch class. Now for our spells, we're going to create Lesser Water, and we're going to take Minor Illusion, two really good utility spells early in the game. For a main spell, we're going to take Mage Armor, because no build for any sorcerer or spellcaster is complete without Mage Armor. For your ability points, we're going to take something like this: 8 Strength, 14 Dexterity, 16 Constitution for any concentration saving throws, 16 Intelligence, as that's our spellcasting modifier, 10 Wisdom, and 10 Charisma. For your proficiencies, you can kind of take anything you like. I would recommend putting one into Medicine at least if you want to deviate from this build slightly, because the Witch does get a feature where you can add your Medicine check to healing. Okay, Witch level 2 unlocks our Specialization and our Witchcraft points. Essentially these go up every 2 levels and they're like sorcery points. Now for a spell here, we're going to take Dancing Lights, another really good utility spell. And for a spell here, we're obviously going to take Create or Destroy Water. And then when it comes to our class passives, we're going to take Witchcraft Twin Spell. This is identical to the Sorcerer one. So you basically get to target more than one person with a single target spell slot. So example, Rare Frost will target 2 people instead of 1. And of course we're doing the Frost Witch. This gives us cold resistance, so we gain resistance to cold damage, only taking half damage from it, as well as Ice Knife. Okay, Witch level 3, and we get Melvina's Frosted Bolts. Fire barrage with 3 magical bolts, each dealing 2d4 plus 1 damage, cost 1 Witchcraft point in addition to spell slots. Really nice early level spell to take. Now for a main spell, we are going to take Mirror Image to help us boost our AC, as well as Darkness, and this will make more sense later in the build. Witch level 4 is where we get more Witchcraft points. We get Elemental Adapt to Cold, so our spells and attacks ignore resistance to cold damage, and we can never roll a 1 for damage, as well as protection from energy cold. And of course we get our feat. Before that we get one more spell to take, and we're going to take Hold Person because it's one of my favourite spells in the entire game. If you land this and an enemy is held, any melee attacks on that target are always critical hits, and this can be a really quick and fun way to end a fight. And for your feat, we're going to take the SI, we're going to bump our intelligence up to 18. Okay, Witch level 5, this is where we get a larger portion of skills and points, and of course we're going to take Witch's Boon for the first one. So grant all allies you can see regeneration for 3 turns while removing disease, poison, paralysis and blindness. Witch level 6, more Witchcraft points, but more importantly we get Frost Breath, so spew forth a cone of ice, and we get Ice Storm, really nice bludgeoning cold damage spell. Now for another spell at this point I would take Plant Growth, just to quarter enemies' movement. If you can land this in a choke point and have more ranged combatants, then everyone walking at a quarter of their speed means you can pick them off with ranged spells and bows and all sorts of fun stuff. And then when it comes to your class passives, we are going to take Stitch Mouth. A doll, a needle and a thread are all you need to inflict misery towards your target. If they fail the charisma save, they are afflicted with mouth stitch and bleeding for 10 turns. And then to go with that, the passive we want is Kismet's Eye. This creature can see within magical darkness, which is where the darkness spell comes in handy. Level 7, and of course some more spells, and for this one we are going to take Envald's Black Tentacles, one of my favourite spells in the game. I put this in my top 10 list. Tentacles sprout from the ground to turn the area into difficult terrain, attacking and smothering creatures within. I paired this with the Hunger for Dar, and that was a deadly combination. Witch level 8, another feat, as well as more Witchcraft points. And for this one, for our spell we're going to take Blight, 8 to 64 necrotic damage, full effect on plants, but overall just a really high level damage dealing spell. And this will pair very nicely with Grim Harvest. So once per turn, if you kill a creature with a spell, you regain hit points equal to twice the spell slot used, thrice if it's a necromancy spell. And for your feat, you can probably guess it, but we are going to do our intelligence to 20. Okay, Witch level 9, more spells, and we're going to start with Contagion. Poison a target and possibly afflict them with a disease of your choice. For your class passive, we're going to come to the very bottom of the list, and we're going to take Expanded Witchcraft to get the extra Witchcraft points, because it's better to just never run out. Witch level 10, we then boost our witchcraft points again. We get to take another spell, and this time we're going to take Dominate Person. And that brings us very nicely to Witch level 11, which is a nice power spike. We get Ice Mastery, so at level 11, spells that deal cold damage deal additional damage equal to your intelligence modifier, so that's an extra base 5 damage. We're going to take Wall of Ice, nice utility spell to not only cut off a battlefield, but also deal a bunch of enemies. Ukulent's Freezing Sphere, a spell that I don't really use honestly, but I have seen people use it to great effect. And Cone of Cold, a very good spell. For a spell out of this one, we're going to take Greater Jinx. It's an amazing spell. Arcane Energy assails your foes, deals 6 to 24 necrotic damage, and inflicts Jinx to targets that fail to save. Deals half damage and doesn't jinx foes that make their save. This is an amazing witchcraft spell, and it's a must for any class. For your passive, now this is the last one we get to choose. We do get a feat on the next level, but for this one we are going to pick Witchcraft Misfortune. So once per short rest, you may spend some Witchcraft to imbue a target with great misfortune. You and your target gain advantage on your attack roll against your target. And our final level, Witch level 12, we get the 2 more Witchcraft points like I said, as well as the feat. Before that though, we do get a spell, and we're going to take Eye Bite. Your eyes become black corridors wreathed in teeth, your gaze capable of inflicting dread sickness or putting creatures to sleep. While concentrating, you may cast Eye Bite without expending a spell slot. For a class passive, we're going to take Illusionary Self. So you magically fashion an illusory duplicate of yourself when attacked, causing your foe to automatically miss that attack. And at this point, we are going to the bottom of the list, and we are going to take Warcaster as a feat. Reason being is I really like the advantage on saving throws to maintain concentration. I also like that we get Shocking Grasp as a reaction, especially if we cast like a water spell, because then we can shock enemies to the maximum damage. Okay, when it comes to our items, this is what we are using. We're going to start with the Cold Brim Hat. So once per turn, when any condition inflicted on a target also applies 2 turns of Encrusted with Frost. Encrusted with Frost is great. So disadvantage on dexterity saving throws. When there's 7 or more turns remaining, and they must make a Constitution saving throw, or they'll take 1 to 4 cold damage and become frozen. If they save, only half damage, but really, really good spell to just close down the battlefield. We're going to pen up the Wee Mother's Cloak, so during combat once per turn, the cloak grants the wearer Water Layer Protection. If we come into here, Water Layer Protection prevented from burning, resistant to fire damage, but vulnerable to lightning and cold damage. For boots, the boots are genial striding, so the wearer's movement speed is unimpeded by difficult terrain. The Weave Mother's Robe, so you could obviously take like the Robe of the Weave, all that fun stuff. I like keeping my builds a little bit mixed up. So for this one, temperature adjustment, you have resistance to fire and cold damage. Watery Rejuvenation, if we're standing in a water surface, we'll regain 1 to 4 hit points at the start of our turn. We also get Create or Destroy Water as a spell, as well as a +1 to armor class. So it's a nice armor that you can just stand in a puddle and you'll heal up, it's great. For gloves, the Brace of Defense to boost that AC to 15. For a ring, the Shifting Corpus Ring, Invisibility and Blur, 2 really good spells to keep you out of danger. The Snowburst Ring, so when the wearer deals cold damage, they create a 4.5 meter of ice around the target. Really good if you do this on a melee based character, because then they have to run to you and there's a chance they'll slip and fall. The Spellcrux Amulet to get a spell slot restoration of any size, so anywhere from 1 to 6. And we're going to finish it off with Marker Share. So Arcane Battery alleviates the arcane burden of spellcasting. Essentially you get a free spell slot use, so you can use one of your level 6 spell slots and it won't cost a thing. You also gain a +1 bonus to your spell save DC and attack rolls, as well as Kreshka's Favour, and if we come in here to check that out, imbue yourself with elemental energy sourced from the draconic goddess Kreshka. Okay, so as soon as you leave camp, the first thing to do is to get that mage armor. So we're going to cast this on ourselves, and must do, like I said, for any sorcerer or spellcaster. And you remember we had 15 AC, this bumps us up to 18. Okay, so you can see they just went to attack us, and we get to do our Illusionary Self. And a big critical miss, and depending on your team lineup, this would leave you with things to do like a Sentinel. But you can see Illusionary Self is just a really nice way of bulking yourself up. Now there's a few ways you can play this. You could start the build off by doing something to protect yourself, like you could do a mirror image. So we do this and we'll increase our AC by 9. 3 per Illusionary Self, or mirror image I should say. Now when we get attacked, you'll see one of these disappear and we'll lose 3 from our armor class. But for now, you'll notice we're on 29, which should be misses all around. And because of how this build works, that does leave us with something we could do where we could do Stitch Mouth, and we'll cast it on the barbarian in front of us. And there you go. Now we come in here and we examine him. He has Mouth Stitch, so cannot speak or cast spells, as well as Bleeding, which is 2 damage per turn, and Encrusted with Frost. And here we have the opportunity to do a Warcaster opportunity attack. You see a big critical hit for 27 damage. And you see the 2 Mouth Stitch damage, or sorry, the 2 bleeding damage they took from Mouth Stitched. And there you go, big opportunity attack missed. And there you go, you'll see we lost 2 of our mirror images, but it's a nice defensive way to tank yourself up as a spellcaster, protect your concentration, that sort of stuff. Now you don't have to do that as your first turn. What you could do would be something like create a Destroy Water. So we'll create some water, we'll do it at first level because there's no point casting it higher, and we'll just soak the entire area. And there we go, and because we've made everyone wet, they all have Encrusted with Frost thanks to our Cold Brim hat. And again, that would leave you to do things like, if you really wanted to, you could do Misfortune. What we could also do to start the combat encounter is we could come in here and we could do something like Darkness. So we'll get a Darkness going, we'll cast it here. And there you go, see, everyone is blinded apart from us because we're immune thanks to our skills. And when it comes to our next round, then we can really start piling out some damage. Now, because we're hiding in the darkness, we can do lots of fun things. For example, we could do our Wall of Ice. Well, not a Wall of Ice, sorry, that is completely the wrong spell. We can do our Frost Breath. And unfortunately, obviously you need to play more tactically than I am. I'm just going to aim this as best I can to hit as many people. But let's focus on the Barbarian. And look at that, 26 damage. We did 32 to Shadowheart, which isn't ideal. But more Encrusted with Frost. Enemies wet, which means lightning spells are going to be even greater on them. Really good way of just doing lots of true damage to the enemy. But of course, what kind of Frost Witch would we be if we didn't hit them with the heavy stuff? Such as an Ice Storm.
I'll strike you down.
Now we can leave the darkness, and we can just rain down death on an enemy. And you see, because we had the floor wet, we have covered the whole place in ice, meaning it is difficult terrain for everyone to walk on. As you see there, the enemy slipped over immediately. Once again, another enemy fallen over. And that enables us to do things we could do like our Melvin's Frosted Bolts. For example, if we did a twin spell, we could do Melvin's to there, and let's try and target someone else. We'll target the Barbarian here. And just like that, you'll see we targeted everyone. And of course we can come back in with a Mouth Stitch on an enemy we haven't done it to. And again we can do more Warcasters. Huge 16 damage, you see we've now electrified the floor. So this build's got so many good ways of just making traps for the enemies, or ensuring that they can't get to you by making the floor ice, or having different openings to start combat with depending on your situation. And of course that still leaves our spells like a Cone of Cold we can do over here. For 32 major damage, we even knocked enemies prone. And once again, just enemies fallen, so you can really pair up your Encrusted with Frost, your Bleeding, your Frozen, all these fun status effects.
Always this.
And see, enemies just cannot get to our people because they're just constantly falling over. And what that means is we come in here with things like our Ice Knife, our low level spells, and do 10 damage like that to just chip away at enemies. And of course that means we have things like our Mouth Stitch, so we can do that on this one. And then they should be finished off from the bleed on the next round. And then we can focus our efforts with our other spells on the enemies around us. And if we aim it at the enemy here, 32 huge damage. Okay, and that's the Ice Frost Witch build complete. I really hope you have enjoyed. Nice way of starting battles in different ways, doing loads of status effects, making choke points, all sorts to really control the battlefield and deal huge ice damage. So if you have enjoyed, please drop the episode a like, it helps me amazingly. Let me know in the comments what other skills you'd use, what other items, all that fun stuff. If you're new and haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, and hopefully I will see you all in the next one. Bye guys.